Jessica is asking about using the share features on Office Drop and Evernote, and she wants to know if the people you're sharing with actually have to have the program or be subscribers as well. And the answer actually is definitely for Office Drop is no. What happens through the secure share is that the person who is shared with actually gets a secure link in an email that they can click on, and that will take them into the Office Drop system. It's all online, so they don't have to download anything. And I believe the same is true for Evernote as well, although both Office Drop and Evernote have got you have the ability to share folders where people can actually all interact with them together using the online services. Josh, is that am I correct about Evernote? I think I am.
Yeah, as far as I know, that is correct. With Evernote, if you share a note, an individual note, then the person does not need Evernote, or I don't believe they even need to be able to access the internet. I think it comes to them through email. But if you share an entire notebook, then I believe the person has to have an Evernote login. They don't have to have the program, but they'll need to be able to access the website.
And actually, Josh, Judy has a question, and we've definitely heard this question before. She wants to know about IRS, in particular saving receipts for the IRS, and she wants to know if you need paper receipts or not. I am under the impression that you do not need that as long as you have everything digitized well, but I know you've got I've heard you answer this question before, and you've got a great response. So would you mind answering her question?
Sure, I think I can provide this response probably verbatim the same way that I provide it every time, because this is a very popular question and an important one. Basically, the way that I look at it is this. The IRS has a regulation that says you are able to, as long as you have a system for storing your stuff, they don't care how you store it, whether that's paper or electronic. It doesn't matter so much, but what matters is that you have your stuff, your expenses, in a system that will allow you, in the event of an audit, to be able to prepare supporting documents to support what you've claimed on your taxes or in your financial statements. That said, that's what the IRS says. What your financial advisor or CPA or enrolled agent or other tax preparer says may be significantly different than that. And what I encourage clients to do is use the word of their tax preparer as what is gospel. Since they're the person that's going to be interacting with this information, they need to be comfortable with however you're storing your stuff. Now, if they say that you have to have your paper documents, that doesn't preclude you from having all of your documents in an electronic system as well, which is what I recommend to most of my clients if their preparer says they still need their paper stuff. And actually, I myself, it may surprise most of you to hear this, but my tax preparer says that even as organized as I am, and believe me, I'm pretty organized, even as organized as I am, he still wants me to keep 10 years worth of supporting documents in paper form for my stuff. So what I do is this. I have my stuff in electronic form, and I keep it all in my computer or in one of these online systems. It doesn't really matter which one, but let's just say I have electronic records of my stuff, and I keep the paper ones as well. I use the electronic versions to analyze and search for my things, and I simply keep the paper ones as backup. So until the IRS has probably broadcasted it out to the world that electronic information record keeping is okay, I think there'll still be some tax preparers that are simply not comfortable with having documents stored online. So check with your tax preparer and use that as whatever the solemn gospel truth will be for your particular situation.
Perfect. Yeah, Judy, that was a good question. That's definitely one that I think everyone who's interested in going paperless asks. It's an important one. David has a series of questions. He is actually looking to see if Josh, you can recommend a free paper management software. I think he probably means like a local sort of on desktop and also cloud. Although he is, I guess in a follow-up question, he's also indicating that he's willing to pay something as well, but he's just kind of curious what systems you recommend for paper management.
Thanks, David, for that question. For free, I wouldn't recommend anything. There's really nothing that I'd say is really good for managing your docs. Although, if you have a limited number of documents, you can certainly use Evernote, the free version, to manage your stuff. And that can work pretty well. And again, you don't have to have your documents synchronized with the Evernote server. You can choose to make your documents stored only locally. And that way you can still organize them as you best see fit. You can search for your documents, and you can access them whenever you want. Um, there's no really effective free document management software. If you want to start paying for things, then you're looking at something like Paperport, which is available for PC. For Mac, I can't really think of one that I'd recommend. I would just use the built-in file management inside of the Finder. Um, but in terms of paper management in general, I really like the tools that we discussed today. That's why I included them. Um, as well as if you have a preferred scanning software other than ScanDrop, um, those can work well for you also.
And David also wants to know about scanning directly to Google. Josh, do you recommend scanning directly to Google? In particular, I think he means Google Docs and Google Apps.
I recommend it if you're already a Google Docs and Google Apps user. You may find that there are other tools that you like better, or you may be completely immersed in the Google world. Google Docs and Google Apps are great if you're already managing much of your business from within their system. It just lets you further integrate how you're already doing stuff. So if you're a Google Apps user and you use it to manage your calendar or your email, definitely scanning paper documents into it will help you continue to build on a system that you're already using. So certainly if you're already a user of that tool, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't want to start doing that as well. Of course, Google Docs doesn't have the same level of, well, it doesn't do any optical character recognition. So as opposed to scanning your documents into something like Office Drop, you won't have the same level of searchability as you would if you scan something into Office Drop versus into Google Docs. So you do lose out on some functionality, um, but hey, it's free. And that's kind of like the metaphor with Google these days. You may love or hate the interface, you may love or hate the features, but generally you can't argue with the price. So it's kind of a you get what you pay for type of world with Google. Certainly if you're already immersed in it, there are definitely benefits to scanning things into it, but know that you won't get the same level of features that you might if you choose a different solution.
Actually, David does have a follow-up question, wanting to know if you're all concerned with Google Docs security and reliability. Um, that's I think in any of these services, the most dangerous part of the whole thing is your password.
Definitely. So you want to make sure that you choose a secure password. You don't want to share that with other people. You don't want to use the same password that you use for 20 of the other websites that you've signed up for. But in terms of data storage security, with Google, I'm not too worried. I mean, it's a pretty big company. They've got many, many, many servers. With Office Drop, I know you guys have redundant servers. I'm really less worried about my data there than I would be on my own personal computer, which could get lost or stolen or dropped or damaged. Um, but it's definitely a mental shift that you have to make from storing your docs locally to storing them someplace else. And truthfully, not everyone is ready for that shift. You have to be ready for it. And when you're ready for it, then you can do all sorts of cool things. Um, but you have to be there. You have to be ready to make that transition. There are also tools if you use Google Docs that let you keep a synchronized copy on your local machine. So you can kind of mitigate, hey, my docs are on Google Docs primarily, but I have an extra copy that's stored on my computer. And those you can search for in the Google Apps Marketplace.
I'm going to actually jump back to a question that Irene asked, which is she's wanting to know if you can recommend a program for uploading and sharing graphic files. And actually, I think graphic files are tough because they tend to be relatively large files, and you also want a nice preview for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, did you know of anything, or have you seen anything like that to
No,
recommend?
what I've generally done with clients that have documents of that sort is we use a project management tool like Basecamp or Manymoon, which let you upload large files and then collaborate on them with others. Um, Tools like that are generally better suited than a traditional document management tool like Office Drop or Evernote, where we're talking mostly about text-based documents. When we're talking about graphics heavy files, you're going to want to use a different type of solution.
Great. Okay, and actually, David had a follow-up question, and it sounds like his use case is actually something pretty similar to what we see at Office Drop. Is that he's got a lot of material that he has to scan and upload, and it sounds like he likes to do the scanning and the OCR himself. I do think that the Office Drop system is pretty good for managing paper, and it's $4.95 a month for the digital plan with a fair amount of storage, and you can sort of scan and upload it in any way you want. But you know, there are some other services out there that are good for online storage, and the price really varies. There is a service called Dropbox that you can scan. You could scan into a Dropbox folder. I believe that's $10 a month for the paid version. I think a service called Box.net is $15 a month for the. I think it's 15 a month for a paid version, but I could be mistaken. I haven't seen it in a while. And then there's some other storage as well. I think that the thing Google Docs is okay, although it handles PDFs a little strangely sometimes. And to be honest, I don't really like their search as much as the Office Drop search, which is kind of funny because Google's known for search, but they haven't seemed to have invested in their Google Docs search. Josh, do you have any other ones that you would recommend for somebody that's looking to self-scan? Just trying to
those
throw a
are all
bunch
really
of
good. Basically, all of those are essentially just document storage. So if you're looking to self-scan and just store your docs, any of those will do fine. I mean, Box.net is great if you want to do sharing. Dropbox is great if you want to basically just share with yourself because it lets you keep your documents in sync on multiple computers. Google Docs is good if you're already using that, but again, the search functions are not very robust. Again, the irony of it being Google. But I have to say, out of all of the Google services, Google Docs is kind of like the bastard stepchild. It gets very little attention, and it hasn't seen any significant changes in quite a while, although I know some are in the works. Any of them will do. I would just choose what you feel most comfortable with. But I would ask you, David, if you're doing a significant amount of scanning, it can be extremely time consuming, and you have to check and really see whether it's worth your time to be doing scanning and checking the OCR to make sure that it was correct and all of that. For many of the clients that I work with, it seems like a good idea at first until they sit down and start doing their first few scans and recognize that it takes a lot of time. So, just balance what your time is worth versus how much is worth it for you to scan yourself versus how much you might want to send off elsewhere to be scanned.
And actually, I think Danny is recommending a tool called PBWorks that stores files nicely, and it's got good search, and he says it works well with self-scanner. So thank you for that recommendation. Jessica asked a question about if she would suggest storing login and passwords in Office Drop or Evernote. I assume that Jessica's referring to login or passwords for other services. Josh, do you have a thought on that?
That's a really good question, and I guess it would depend on what your comfort level is. I wouldn't, personally, because it's not really, neither tool is really designed to do that. Office Drop and Evernote certainly are secure, and within Evernote, actually, you can secure an individual piece of text inside of a note. So you could put your passwords inside of an Evernote note and then secure that with an additional password. That works. There are significant downsides to doing that. For instance, if you lose that password, there is no way for Evernote to retrieve the password, so you would lose the note and thereby all of your passwords. And certainly, if you keep them in Office Drop, you could access them from anywhere, but it's not like it would automatically populate and log you into a specific website. There are many, many password management tools, which I feel would be a better bet if that's what you're trying to do. There are tools
Great.
like, for instance, RoboForm on the PC, RoboForm online. If you're using a web-based solution, there's Keychain if you're on the Mac. There's FastPass, there's LastPass, there's KeyPass, you name it. Actually, if you go online to my website and go into the productivity toolbox, which is at customlivingsolutions.com, there's, I think, at least one or two password management tools that are linked from there. But if you're trying to manage passwords, I think there's better ways to do it.
I want to thank everyone for joining. Josh, I think you did a great job outlining all the different tools. That was a great presentation.